Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ekua Moses, and I am an engineering teacher here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I just finished my 24th year of teaching, and this is my fourth year of teaching engineering. And I wanted to share with you some thoughts that I had as I wrap up this school year and I'm starting my summer vacation and I'm reflecting on the year that I just had. On the screen that you can see now are two of the documents that I use with my students at the end of the year. And I start with the top one where you see those squares. And I said to the students to write a neatly written reflection. Use the sentence stems to reflect on your engineering journey this year. Be thoughtful and creative. Draw a detailed sketch to support each statement. And I use this very same handout with my first, second, third, fourth, and fifth grade students. And I ask them to use these reflection stems as a way for me to help them explain their journey, because sometimes students need some support in how they're going to construct their sentences or the thoughts that they have, or putting it all together, or besides just saying, it was fine, it was nice, but helping them explain their thoughts. And they have lots of things that we don't even realize. And this is important to me. This isn't the first year I've done this reflection that you can see on the screen. I've done it each and every year, and it's one of the most important things that I do with my students, because I want to have a student interest-based classroom, a student-centered classroom where I take their thoughts, their opinions, their goals, their hopes, their dreams, and I use that for my planning. So as I'm starting summer vacation, it's important for me to kind of quantify and look at the sentence stems that they chose to use and what those mean for my planning for next year. Some things that I, as an educator, did well, or things that I could improve on, things that I can plan towards next year. I've heard people say that, I might be a specialist teacher, but I only see them every 9 days or 8 days. I don't make an impact on them. I've heard content teachers who are like, I'm just one of many of their teachers. I don't make an impact. There's all of us, anybody on the school campus makes an impact in a child's life. And sometimes it's only through writing that we find out that true impact that we personally make as an educator. So I want to share my open thoughts, my raw thoughts on some things that my students said to me using the sentence stems. And I hope you've had a chance to kind of read over them as I've been talking. These sentence stems, again, are just starters, and I asked them to choose any three that would help them explain their thinking. And then once they choose that sentence stem, they're going to write it on the lines and use the box to draw a diagram and help me understand what those thoughts mean. I was really surprised this year. Again, this is the fourth year of doing these reflections with my students at the end of the year. I was surprised this year, out of the 600 plus students that I did this with, again, first through fifth grade, I had over 20 students who chose to write about me as their teacher and use my name specifically. And so I wanted to share those with you. Again, as this is just an open conversation, a kind of vulnerable moment, I really reflected on whether I wanted to share this publicly or not. But I hope that through sharing my students' work, you might get some ideas and some things that you can use, a colleague could use, or you could reflect on things that you've done with your students that maybe you want some new ideas you could do differently, or some things you're already doing that you should give yourself a pat on the back and celebrate, because maybe you are having an impact that you don't realize. And then I hope that this will challenge you, that if you're not doing reflective writing with your students, that you might want to give it a try. So here's the first one I'll share with you. This student chose to use the one that says, I am grateful for blank because blank. And this is a second grader. I'm starting with the second grade examples, and I'll finish through the fifth grade examples. So this second grader said, I'm grateful for my engineering teacher because she gives us a lot of fun stuff to do every time when we come to engineering. And again, my students were asked to do this by pencil. I don't expect it to be perfect. They didn't have time for editing and correcting and using Grammarly and all these other tools. I just want to know their natural thoughts. What are the first three things? And again, it's very heartwarming to me to see that this student thought about me. And when I look at the reflection, the words that on this one that stuck out to me is every time. That goes with me. It hits me to think about consistency every time. So I see these students 26 times during the school year. And I'm thinking that every single time I've got to be consistent and make sure that these students have something they look forward to doing and they're excited to come to my classroom for engineering because of course they go to music, art, PE, library, they have computer science. At my school we also have a maker space that they can go to. But I'm honored to be able to be the engineering teacher. And if you can see on the screen, the every time also thought reminded me that this year I did get a perfect attendance award for my principal for being one of the teachers who came in every day during that first semester of school. And actually during the school year, I only used one day off, my universal day off. And I understand, and this is not to put down anyone who uses a day off. We all get sick. Sometimes we need mental health time. But for me this year, I didn't have any of those reasons for taking off. And I'm grateful that I was there. And it was noticed by a student. This is another student, a second grader, who said, I'm grateful for my engineering teacher because she brought happiness throughout the school year. Again, that consistency that I just mentioned, students notice when teachers are absent. Students miss us when we're gone. And even though some days I was tired, and I wanted to call in, I didn't. I persevered. I kept going. I did not quit. There's a lot of teachers who are quitting right now because we are faced with a lot. I'm very fortunate that the student noticed that I brought happiness throughout the school year. Again, that consistency piece and, always being on because each day does count. And so this really did hit me and made me reflect on, yes, my attendance matters. And it was actually noticed by students. So I'm thankful. And I encourage you too to reflect on that because our attendance as educators matters also. This is another second grader who said, I am grateful for my engineering teacher because she does hard work for us. And you can see the teacher and the student. And the hard work is passionate work for me. I enjoy what I do. It's fun. I see this to be an act of social justice. I feel it is my personal calling, teaching engineering. So I do dream big. I do work hard each and every day. It's not something I specifically explicitly say to my students, but seeing at the end of the year that a student wrote that in second grade, that I did hard work, that's nice. Dream big, work hard. Absolutely. This is another second grader who said, I'm grateful for having an engineering teacher, have an engineering teacher to be proud of everything I do. And if you can see up in his diagram, there's the little bear that's taking a ride in the Lego zip line. And you can see the comment bubble up there says nice. So I want you to think about the context, and this is why I put the photo here for you. This is the student who wrote it. And in the process of that, my comment to the student was the word nice. I wish, in hindsight, that I could have used some specific praise to say, I really like how you made a two-story zip line there. I like how you attached it to the zip line. I like how you put your wall above the bear, but you still made sure the bear could see out as you were testing it. I would love to say that I gave the student specific praise, but that particular day I must have said, oh, nice. In his class, This student who wrote this was one of my most challenging class periods. I had two classes that came to me at the same time, two second grade classes. And so that's almost 40 kids or more in my tiny space. And so it was a behavior challenge trying to keep all the kids on task. And just imagine I had zip lines strung across my classroom, and keeping 40 kids from zipping on the zip line themselves was a challenge. So my feedback to the student was really short, nice, apparently. But I would love to say that I gave specific praise, but that's something I can definitely work on and continue to grow on. This other thing I put on here on the screen says, decide you're going to find the good in each student you have this year. Make it a goal for each and every day to make someone's day. And I'm glad I made his day, even though I just said the word nice, and I can reflect and say I should do specific praise. But I'm glad that even just saying the word nice made him feel seen and appreciated, and like I am proud of the work they do. I try to celebrate with each and every one of them as they're testing and as they're improving their designs, but I'm glad he noticed the word nice. This is another second grader who said, I'm grateful for having a fun teacher, the engineering teacher, and she is so fun. And I just have to think about myself. Like, I try to reflect what I want to see in them. Attitudes, if you've heard that quote before, attitudes are contagious. So I try to look at myself in the mirror. Am I excited about what I'm doing with my students? Am I having fun? Am I working right alongside them to problem solve and figure this out? Am I encouraging them? Am I enjoying the process? Am I encouraging and setting it up in a way that they can enjoy the process? So again, I try to look at myself before each and every class period. I have 6 classes a day. Am I providing something that is fun and exciting and makes the learning stick? Because we know that experiential learning sticks in a much better part of the brain. So I want to create experiences that the kids will think are fun and exciting. School doesn't have to be boring. School doesn't have to be teacher centric. It can be fun, and I strive to be fun. And there's many different types of fun, so I'll talk about that. But interest based, I try to make sure that I'm meeting their interests, things they want to learn, things that I can stretch them a little bit, and we can have a good time while we're doing it. So take a look at yourself. Educators, I challenge you. Are you having fun with what you're teaching? And if not, maybe it's not the right fit. I know that's not a popular thing to say, but I've done many things over these 24 years, from being a second grade teacher, fifth grade teacher, literacy specialist. I've been an instructional coach, a family learning facilitator, and now I'm teaching engineering. There are so many different things in education, and finding the right fit where you can have fun is essential. If fifth grade's not the one for you, I did fifth grade. Let me tell you, I love second grade a whole lot more. Right now, I teach them all, but I'm teaching a content area that I really, truly have fun with. This student said, this is a third grader, I'm grateful for my engineering teacher because she is kind and nice to me. And when I look at the diagram of what they were explaining on how I was nice and kind to them, I see myself as the teacher there. The student looks like they're working at the table with some blocks. And the student, I guess I'm saying, let me help you. And the student is saying, thank you. And I put this little character, the brain, here with my hands up because sometimes I think about that in the classroom on constructive struggle, because I'm all about setting a challenge and letting the kids go and create what they would like to create, and they can create their own ceiling, whatever that may be. But as an educator facilitating this and walking around the room, sometimes I don't know where I need to come in and prompt or cue or give them some ideas, or if they're absolutely absolutely stuck with a tool or a device or something, when do I come in and I say, let me help you? Because I don't want to do the heavy lifting. I don't want to be the one who comes up with a solution, because the best learning is when you come up and you construct it yourself. So I want to prompt and I want to cue, and I'm thinking about, what scenario did I ever say to this child, let me help you? Because that to me sounds like I just stepped in and I just did it for them, which I really try to hold myself back from doing, unless it was something that they absolutely were at the breaking point. And then I was like, nope. Even then, I wouldn't even say, let me help you. If they're at the breaking point, I would still prompt and cue them. Have you tried this? Have you thought about this? What would happen if you did this? Then, oh, here, I'm just going to do it. Or maybe let's do it together. But again, this is something I reflect on too, on when do I prompt, when do I cue, when do I step in to say, let me help you, or do I need to help them fix something, because they're children still, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. There are some things that maybe they haven't had the life experience to know how to do yet. Then maybe I'll give them a little nudge that will just keep them going, but never will I do the full thing for them. This is a third grader who says, I am grateful for Miss Moses, our engineering teacher, because she helped me through the way. And I think about this, about the engineering design process, and through the way makes me think about all the different steps that I try to take the students through each time they come to me. We do the steps of the process where we're asking questions, we're identifying the problem, they're imagining and brainstorming solutions, they plan, they create, they test, and they improve. And we spend a lot of time here. The bulk of our time is in the creation, testing, and improving process. And then at the end of class, every other rotation, they'll do a written reflection where they'll write their reflection and draw a diagram of it. We don't do that every single time because of time. I only have them for 50 minutes. So we spend a lot of time there in that wheel that you see there, planning and creating and testing. And I'm there to facilitate and walk around. And again, sometimes I have anywhere between 20, 40, 45 kids that I'm trying to prompt and cue and keep them moving through the design process. And it touches my heart that the student recognized that I am there through the way, or through the process of engineering. This third grader said, I'm grateful for Miss Moses teaching us a lot, because we did a lot of fun stuff while we were in third grade. And when I look at the diagram at the top, I see the kids are sitting on the carpet and they pointed to me in front of the TV screen, if you can see the word TV there. So every time, just to paint a picture for you, when the students arrive, they come in and they sit on the carpet, as you can see here, and they see this screen, a screen that says, I'm thankful you came to engineering today. And then I give them a kind of a little hint about what our challenge is going to be. So if you can see the one that says, I'm thankful you came to engineering today, you see some wood in the background, and then you see me kicking a soccer ball with my little Bitmoji. And that was because that day we did foosball games with wood, or Arkiva planks. So we made foosball games with wood. And then here's another one. I was standing in front of the screen welcoming the students, saying, thank you for coming to engineering today. I'm glad you're here today. And we were doing something with marbles where we were going to score, and I was going to celebrate when they score, probably a marble maze. But I like the fact that, students recognize the things that we do, and I want them to know that they are welcome, they are seen. I plan to have fun with you today. I'm glad that you're here. Again, I only get to see you 25, 26 times during the school year, so let's make sure that we do some fun things and we're learning along the way. This is a third grader who said, I'm thankful for Miss Moses because she's a good teacher and engineer, and I love her class. And it's funny, I'm not actually an engineer. If you're watching this video, I'm an elementary teacher. That is what my elementary is, my bachelor's, and my master's is in literacy. So engineering is not one of my degrees, but all elementary teachers teach engineering, a part of the national next generation science standards include engineering standards for all grade levels in elementary schools. So we all teach engineering, but I'm thankful for that. And when I look at the diagram up here, to Miss Moses, best teacher from Riley, and it's a little slip of paper, it reminded me this school year, one of the things that I did, just a little by the way, I like little nuggets of things, and I had these little thank you notes that I've had for many years, honestly. I've had them for close to 10 years, and I wanted to get rid of them. And it so happened that there was today is Show Someone You Are Thankful Day at school, because we have all these theme days and things. And so that day, I just said real quick, do you want a thank you note so you can express your appreciation to a classmate, coach, neighbor, staff, family member, someone you love, someone in your life? And I gave out these throughout my classes on that particular day. Show someone you're thankful. And I was even surprised I had a student who wrote one for me. You can see that on the screen. But the way that the student wrote that in their, drew that in their diagram made me think about those little thank you cards that I passed out. And it's the little things that kids notice. It's not always big, grandiose things, but a little colorful piece of paper that they can write a quick note on the back and take with them as they're leaving my classroom. If I can spread a little cheer, I'm glad that it's noticed. This is a third grader who said, I think engineering is fun because Miss Moses lets us build a lot of stuff like a maze and other things. And I can see the kids, the teacher, and a screen. And it got me thinking about, if this is the kids on the floor and it's a maze that she's talking about, I remember at the very beginning of the year, and you can find this video on my YouTube channel as well, I started the year by having the kids make a maze with Legos. And if you can see closely in the maze, there's a letter S with the girl closest to the screen for her first name. And then there's an A on the second one for the other little girl in this picture. And they had to make the first letter of their name and put it somewhere in the maze. And then they got to sit on the carpet and they got to test out the mazes of their classmates. So this is why these two girls are standing right now. They're about to go to the carpet so they can swap mazes and test out the mazes with the marble. And I like doing mazes with students, and students love and often frequently request to do mazes. I like this little quote from ZLearn, and it says, making mistakes help us find our way. And that's the beautiful thing about doing mazes and having kids make mazes and play with mazes, because they see how it helps us learn from our mistakes and we can try again easily. And it's a natural part of the process. And they naturally like to make it a little bit more complicated as well, so the maze is more challenging and more fun. And so they naturally are learning that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to, fix those mistakes and try again and try again and try again until you reach that success. And then when you get that success, it's so fun. And then you can't wait to share it with others. So again, you can find other examples of the Lego tilt mazes on my website or my YouTube channel. Another student said, I am grateful for an engineering teacher like you because you are the best when it comes to building. And I look at the picture there and it shows Miss Moses with a cardboard, and she's put skyscraper and tissue paper, which is interesting because the day we did that, it wasn't actually a skyscraper challenge, it was hotels and buildings. And you can see that on my YouTube channel. And it's funny what kids remember and how they remember it, because I didn't actually make a model of this for the students to see. I showed them an example from artist Daryl Wakelum, and I also showed a middle school example that I had found. I had the makerspace teacher made a model as well to try it out, just using cardboard scraps and tissue paper. And that little light that you see is a little twisty light that I had found. Um, and you can see more examples of this also, the cardboard hotels, on my YouTube channel too, in our examples. But I thought it was interesting that when it comes to building, because I get a lot of ideas from other people, and I don't always share a model, so I thought that that was really interesting. And I see the wow. I like that they were impressed by something I had shown that day. This is a fourth grader who said, I'm grateful for my engineering teacher because she showed me new things to build and create. And this is a fourth grader. And what they're talking about from the diagram up there, I can see it says house made of Legos. And I put one example for you on the top of the screen. And I want to talk about this one in particular because she showed me new things to build and create. One of the reasons I did the challenge this year with making a Lego house is because whenever I give them open time to play, and it's completely their call, whatever they want to do, no challenge, no anything said by me, literally just putting out the Legos and say, have fun, engineer on your own today. I have a lot of students who choose to make houses. I chose to do this house challenge because I noticed that the houses that they built independently, on their own free time, when I allow that, they're not very detailed. They don't have a lot of things. And so I wanted to do a specific challenge to take what they already know about building houses and step it up a little higher by pointing out some design features of houses that maybe they hadn't thought about or considered before, and also building in some vocabulary, because I like to tuck in, again, if you've seen some of my other work about swirl and stem, speaking, writing, interacting, reading, listening. So for this one, you can see that they're looking at some nonfiction text up here on the screen, which is my slide I showed the students. I told them that the success criteria, they had to have a door, roof, and windows. That's number 1, 2, and 3. I want to step you up and challenge you to think about some design things you might not have made before. Like, have you made a house with stairs or a chimney, a front porch, plants, columns, a second story, or even an attic, which I know some houses out here in Las Vegas, I don't know how many have an attic or even a chimney. So I wanted them to think about some things and to read some words that might help them as they're reading in their classroom as well. So new things to build and create, like make your house. Yeah, but let's see if we can add some new things to it today. And I'm glad that this student realized, oh, she kind of stepped me up a little bit there with my house building skills. This is a fourth grader who said, I am grateful for our engineering teacher because she is always making sure we have something fun to do and make sure we are safe. Thank you for that. Again, by a fourth grader. And this particular reflection, the word safe sticks out to me. And it's something that I say a lot to the students about engineering, because engineers create the world that's never been. They create things that help solve problems in our community. And they do it with safety in mind, safety first, because we don't want anything that we create for people to get hurt. So I'm saying this each and every time they come, safety first. Let's test what we make. So this year, I wanted to show you 3 of our testing dummies that we use when we create something. So Winnie the Pooh and the other Disney characters went on some gondola rides, if you can see that. We use these little plush Disney characters when we did the Disney gondolas, the Skyliners. We also used little snowmen when we did it with the Make-A-Do screws, if you can see that in the cardboard, and created gondolas with those. Zip lining. And then I showed you before the little bear, the counting bears. We used counting bears when we did the Lego zip line. So again, safety first, and I like how the student noticed that safety is important in our engineering class. Not only them using our tools safely, but also making sure that the models and prototypes that we create are also safe, because that's the whole purpose. I'll give you just a second to read this sign that you see on the screen in the middle in blue, and see if you can figure out what it says while I read what the student said. The most important thing, and they used a different stem. Did you notice that the previous examples, all the students wrote, I am grateful for? This one starts with the sentence stem that said, the most important thing I learned in engineering is how believing yourself, or believing in yourself, and also how to use careful things and using good manners. And then at the top of the screen, the reason I'm showing you the poster I asked you to read is because the student drew a diagram of that chart. It's not a poster, it's a chart. And I like what she wrote in the notes. She said, this is what made me feel so strong from you, Miss Moses. And she drew a picture of that chart. So let's take a look at the chart now. Maybe you figured out what it says. So this chart, if you can see in the pictures with the students looking at it, it's an eye chart like you would see at the eye doctor. And this chart is hanging by my door. So as the students are exiting my classroom, sometimes they have to wait a minute or two before their teacher arrives. And you can see these first graders and the third grader trying to figure out what it says. And this is what it says, which I don't tell them. So they can visit my class multiple times and get a little farther each time. And I love hearing them sound it out together. So I'm going to break it for you. It says, you can't do things differently until you see things differently. And so the students who have figured that out, they like to read it each time that they come, and they share it with someone else who may or may not know what it says. And I think repeatedly seeing that is a reminder that, in engineering, you might know how to build a house, but we're going to show you how to build it a different way with different materials, how to do it safely, maybe add on some things you didn't know, or a gondola, or anything else that we're doing, that there's many different ways to solve a problem. There isn't just one way. And the world is beautiful because we all see things differently. But in order to do that, you have to have the right mindset. And I'm glad that this mindset helped her to feel strong and try some things. And the reason I like reflective writing is because I would have never known that she feels so strong. And now every time I see this fourth grader in the hall, I give her at the end of the year after we did this, because I did it um, not the last rotation, but the rotation before the last rotation. And so that gave me about another week and a half left in the school year. So after they did that and I read all of them, now every time I see her in the hall, I give her a high five. And when she comes in my class, I just give her a little smile, because I'm glad to know how she really feels. She's a very quiet student. She doesn't speak very often in my class other than doing her work, but not really to me. And so now, knowing her inner thoughts, that she feels so strong, now I know I can encourage her and be proud of the things that she's saying. And I'm glad to see that she's made that growth. So again, reflective writing means the world to me. This is a fourth grader who said, I'm grateful for the engineering teacher because she bought a lot of stuff for us. And I like to tell the students each time they're coming that this is something new to our school. Not all of it do I spend my personal money on. I'm very grateful for the National Life Group, that I was the Life Changer of the Year, and that gave me our school $5,000. And so that has helped our school to be able to purchase things that I have been able to use. I've also been a City of North Las Vegas Innovative Teaching Award, so I got money from that. The state of Nevada also gave us $500 to use for our classrooms. So I've had money from that. And then I, out of my personal pocket, yes, have bought a lot of stuff, but I really try to make sure that I buy secondhand things whenever possible. So I go to thrift stores, mostly thrift stores, Goodwill stores. And then there's a new favorite one that I'm really hooked on right now, which is called Nellis Auction Outlet. And I peruse the 50-cent bins for little things that we can use. That little light bulb that I mentioned earlier when we did the cardboard hotels, that little light bulb I got from the Nellis Auction Outlet. So there's all kinds of different funding sources, but keeping it interesting and making it sure that the kids have novel materials for them to use. I'm always on the hunt for STEM supplies, and it's kind of fun for me. I like going to when I first started, going to Goodwill was a game changer for me because I saw some new things that my own personal children had never played with, I had never played with, and they were open-ended. Even the light bright, seeing the light bright still out there, the light bright was something that I had used growing up, but the connects weren't, if you can see in that picture. And using connects with the students is really great. And I'm not the only one who does this. If you can see Daily STEM, Chris Woods, if you follow his work on Instagram or on X, he's another great STEM resource. And he put out what he found at a flea market, if you can see that picture there. And it's important for me to say what matters most is how you use whatever resources you have. So it's not about all the grants that I've won or the personal amount, because I'm fortunate enough to be a teacher who can supply things for my classroom. But not everyone can, and not everyone is expected to, because as much as I like getting new things or secondhand things, actually, I also really like the recyclables, things like cardboard rolls, paper towel rolls, bottle caps. Wait for this year, the bottle caps. Oh my goodness. I think it's about what you have and how you use it, and you get the kids challenged with it. So bought a lot of stuff doesn't always mean I bought with money, but I also bought things with grant money and other things like that. But I do like to point out to the kids that this is something new to our campus this year. I didn't say where it came from or how it was purchased, but something new to try today. And so the kids get excited, like, oh. This is a fifth grader who said, I am grateful for Miss Moses. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to learn new things. And I like the little diagram of me there. Didn't get really specific on what she was talking about, but I wanted to look back at one of her great achievements this year was when she and her classmates built this, we called it hotel, because that's what the kids wanted to build, was a hotel. And they used the box lock clips to build the hotel. And her group was one of the groups that were able to get the door, the roof, and the windows completed. And if you see, the door was open, and that was something new that we did this year as well. And so I like that. And this is a fifth grader who said that sometimes we always think we have to blow the fifth graders away, but we have to remember their life experiences vary. Some of these students have never made, and if you look at this picture, it kind of looks like a fort. Some of them haven't made a fort at home or used box locks. It's new for them. So again, those novel things that we can introduce to them, cardboard, everyone has cardboard, but how can you use that cardboard to make a fort or something else? But showing them different ways of using the same materials is awesome. How many different things can we do with cardboard? And expanding them out and showing them things that they haven't done in their life is so important. Giving them access and opportunity through exposure of many different things is absolutely critical, and they appreciate it, as you see this student mentioning the new things. This is a fifth grader who said, I'm grateful for my teacher because she is the one who teaches. Sorry, let me start that again. I'm grateful for my teacher because she is the one who teaches us about engineering. And that's a huge task because, again, I am not an engineer and I rely on actual engineers in the field to help me teach our students about engineering and give them an accurate, complete picture. So I put together a playlist of the engineers that I share with my students, and this playlist right now has 38 videos you can take a look at on YouTube. They are 1 to 5 minute at the most clips. So again, when I told you at the beginning, I have the students come in, I welcome them, I tell them about the challenge we're going to be working on today and how it mirrors what an actual engineer does. So remember when I talked about the gondolas, the skyliners, you can see video number 6 on the screen was a video that has engineers who actually work on building gondolas for Disney, and that's why we had Winnie the Pooh and Lilo and Stitch and the others, Mickey and Minnie, as our testing dummies after we learned from this 1 minute video of engineers who were telling us about building the actual skyliners. So yes, I am the one who specifically has the honor of introducing our students to engineering, to engineers in the field who are actually doing this, primary sources, people who do it, who look like them, sound like them, live in neighborhoods that look like our neighborhoods, who are doing things that maybe they haven't done or things that my students aspire to do, the things that they're interested in. From you can see the wide variety of different things in that playlist. So I'm glad to be able to introduce engineering. It may lead some of my students to say that one day I want to be an engineer or something of that sort, and that would be exciting. But at least they know that engineers change the world. They create the future. They create the things that we use in our daily life to solve our problems and make sure that they are safe. I want to end with this last example. This is another 5th grader who said, I am grateful for Miss Moses. She is the best. She picks the best activities. She's kind, and going to engineering makes my day. I am glad she is the engineering teacher. And this is a 5th grader. In this 5th grader, I am sad to see him going off to middle school. Since I started at the school, he has been absolutely incredible. And he's one of the students that I'm often taking pictures of his work. I'm often putting his papers, as you can see, his reflections every other week make the Wall of Fame typically, and he's one of our exemplar students that we want to share with our whole community his work. And I have a video about the Wall of Fame there, and there's some more information about the Wall of Fame on my website that you can read to find out more about that process. But this really stuck out to me on how, the Wall of Fame really meant something to him and the papers that he did, because he was very detailed, if you can see in his diagramming here. And he showed not only the papers, but also the work that he did with Kiva planks. And I'm not quite sure which challenge that was. Maybe it was this one with the chain reactions we did with the Kiva planks, or something else. But he was an incredible student. I'm sad to see him go. But I'm thankful for the time that we had, and I'm thankful that he has those papers to take with him going forward of his diagrams, of all the engineering little brag tacks he earned, because he earned so many, and his future is so bright. And I want to be able to show these students that engineering is accessible. It is something you can dream and hope, and you have a really great foundation set up in elementary school, so you can see back to the things that you created, the models you created, how you work together to collaborate and solve problems and create so many different models. And so I hope being open and reflective with you on these examples, again, kind of a open, vulnerable moment for me to be able to share these with you, but I hope it gives you an insight to kind of what I'm thinking and some of the things that I do in my class that I want to continue or do better with. And also, there are so many more that I could share with you today, but I chose to focus on the ones about me in particular. And that is because, again, so many teachers think specialist teachers, teachers who don't see the students all the time, think that, oh, am I just the babysitter? They just drop them off and the teacher goes. Am I just the babysitter of these kids? Does my work really matter? Or they think I see them only so few times during the year. Does my work really matter? And it truly does. And taking the time to do a written reflection with the kids gives you so much information to feed forward for the next school year on things you as an educator are doing right, because we are in a very thankless position sometimes, where me as a specialist, I don't always get the chocolates and candies and gift cards and all the slew of gifts on Teacher Appreciation Day that the students give. I don't always get those things at the end of the year that parents send. So sometimes you don't even know, did I make an impact on these students? Do they remember anything that they've done in my class? Does my class matter to them? What are they taking away? So I hope through this process I was able to give you some ideas that you can take to use. If you are interested in these reflection stems or the handout, they are both available for download on my website. I'll put a link in the description box. Please let me know, maybe what did I leave out of this reflection? Were there other things that maybe you noticed in my students' work that I didn't realize or I should think about? Did you see something that resonated with you? Please use the comments below to tell me that too. What are your takeaways from this video on maybe your own practice, something you could do in your classroom, your community that you could do to get a window into the students' thoughts and feelings in their journey throughout the school year with you? Year 24 was absolutely amazing for me. I'm excited for year 25. I'm going to dip into these reflections not just one, multiple times throughout the school year, especially the one that says, next year I want to build a blank because blank. I'm definitely going to go through those, and I'm going to clip out the ones that I can use. Again, at the beginning of class, when I say welcome, today's challenge is inspired by the student who asked me about blah, blah, blah. The student who said, next year I want to build a whatever it is, whether it be a Ferris wheel or something else, whatever it is, I try to start with those. So I will definitely be going through these again. Is there another one you would like me to make a video about? Another sentence stem that maybe you want me to look through my students' work and see? I will see if I could do that for you as well. Again, please subscribe to my channel. I do this out of the goodwill of my heart as a way of kind of paying it forward, and I just hope that it helps someone somewhere somehow. So again, thank you for making it this far in the video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.